Good morning and a very warm welcome from a very wet and soggy Berkhamsted High Street. Well, it's about a month since we had our last virtually there, and things have changed considerably with the announcement from the government of the new green list. And we at Travel Time remain positive that we will all get our much needed summer holiday overseas this year. However, as you can imagine, we've been inundated this week with questions from our various clients, both popping into the office and also online, with what does this all mean? Yes, there's a green list, we can go there, but those countries have restrictions on some of them, most of them, of what we can do when we get, how can we get in there. I've joined today with Angela, who's going to go through some of those important questions that have been asked, and to the best of my ability, answer them for her. So, Angela, over to you.
Hi, Jackie. I've had a few calls from some of our wonderful clients just touching base and asking questions, which is probably why these questions have been coming through daily. They all seem to wonder what we've been doing for the last 12 months.
Well, that's a leading question, Angela, because everybody thinks because travel is not been permitted that we've just been sitting here twiddling our thumbs. Well, that's very wrong. In the early days, we're obviously very much concentrating on getting all of our clients who are stranded abroad in Australia, in New Zealand, in Thailand, in Turkey, getting them all back and repatriated. And then we started with the terrible, depressing job of getting all refunds for all those clients who were traveling or due to travel. So we had the ski groups in April and March, then that one carried on through the season. And so really all we've been doing is processing refunds and changing people's holidays for the last 14 months. Not been great because we're used to selling lovely luxury holidays, but that's what we've been doing.
Okay. Can you explain the traffic light system of green, amber and red zones? It's so confusing. Can you explain to me exactly what they all mean in layman's terms and what countries are currently on the green list?
Okay, so try not to put any jargon in and trying to talk to you in just simple layman's terms. The green list is all systems go, with the caveat that that's what our government is allowing us to travel to without the necessity to quarantine on our return. However, the flip side of that is that those countries have also their own restrictions. And up to 1 o'clock yesterday, every country on that list had restrictions of us going in there. So it's very, very important that you check which countries will allow us in. We're delighted that yesterday Portugal lifted its ban on UK citizens, and we are now able to go into Portugal with a PCR. So with the green list, whatever the country requires you going in, that's what you need to go in. And on your return, you will need to have a PCR or a lateral flow test, which is done before you return into UK. So you need that certificate. When you get back on day 2, you have to go and have another PCR test. So that's the green list. Amber is yes and no. Yes, you can go, but there are further restrictions. So on the countries on the amber list, again, whatever the country requires for you to go into it, but on your return, you have to have a PCR or a lateral flow, plus a test on day 2 and day 8, and the necessity to quarantine for 10 days. You can do an early release on day 5, which is a test release, a PCR again, but you still must have the PCR on day 8 as well. Red list is stop, no go. Yeah, if you go to those countries and you return from that country, you have to quarantine in a hotel, a government approved hotel straight from the airport for 10 days. So that's a sort of basically a simple layman's term. So green go, amber yes and no, and red no.
So hang on a minute. Are you saying then that the countries on the green list won't let us in?
Currently, They all have restrictions. So, for example, if you take Iceland, you need to have a double vaccine certificate, which again, the NHS is downloadable on Monday. All the other countries on the list currently have restrictions for UK, with the exception of Portugal, which released the ban yesterday at 1 o'clock.
Brilliant. If we decide to take the plunge and book a trip this year, what happens if the government moves in from the green zone to amber or red? Do we have the option to cancel with full refund or move to a later date, etc.?
Well, I think the key thing really for this summer of traveling in general is flexibility. You have to work on book with a travel agent or tour operator that has that flexible terms in it. So currently, the general rule amongst most of our tour operator partners is green, all systems go. No reason to change or refund or postpone. Amber is really just the restriction of your quarantine, so that if a country goes from green to amber, then you will be allowed that flexibility to change it to a later date, move it to next year, or move destination to another country, but not a refund. So it's a flexible change. Because you can still go to that country, you just have to quarantine when you come back. The red country, simply refund. Now, we are being given reassurances by the government that we will have a minimum of 1 week's notice, and we will also have watch lists. So there will be a green watch, in other words, a country that's going on what we now call the wobbly list, and an amber wobbly list. And so there will be effectively 6 lists, yeah, and a week in between when something's going to change.
Thank you. Another question that's come in is, so what do I need to do to prepare for my holiday? Can you help with testing there at travel time?
Yes, yeah. I mean, we've now become not just a travel agent, we've become an advisory centre, and we have linked up with lots of different companies to offer a full range of testing. So if there is time, we've got a discounted rate down to £60, which is a postal system with a drop-off point where a helicopter comes and picks it up from different drop-off centres around the UK. And then you'll get emailed to you a PCR certificate. We've also joined a relationship with our neighbours next door at Acorn Chemist, and they are doing a walk-in service for £100, discounted to £100 for our clients. And we also have a video for a lateral flow test, which you can do in resort by video the result. They will then send you a certificate if it's negative. So yes, we are there to guide and handhold our customers through this process.
Okay, my husband and I have had both vaccines now. So why do we need to be tested again, or is our certificate enough?
No, well, sadly, that's not the case, because you can still potentially carry the virus even though you've been double vaccinated. And also, the vaccine certificate is not internationally recognised. Currently, it's available on the NHS app, but as of now, I haven't been able to download that into any sort of certificate. And also, what countries are accepting that? And then what happens with your young children or your 16 and 17 and 18-year-olds who haven't had the vaccine yet? So no, unfortunately, still going to be PCR and lateral flow for the time being.
Okay, and my next question actually is very similar. Can you explain the difference between a COVID PCR test and a lateral flow one?
Right, well, I mean, again, without getting into jargon, if you think of it quite simply, the PCR is the recognised scientific testing, and that goes off to a laboratory. So yesterday, I went for my PCR. I went into the chemist, went to a special room. They did the test for me, which is the nasal and the throat swab. That was put into a test tube, sent off by courier to a laboratory. And that test is considered to be considerably more accurate than the simple tests that we're probably all familiar with now, which are being done in the schools and the colleges and in offices. And we've got them here in our office now, where you self-test And it's like a little pregnancy test, to be honest, a little thing where you do the swab, put it into the solution, shake it about, wait a few minutes, and then drop it onto a reader. And that's available within 10 minutes. So both, that's the lateral flow test, and then the other one is the PCR test. Again, we did have a question this morning about RT-PCR, which again is just the technical scientific name for a full PCR test.
Okay, thank you. It's all very confusing sometimes. Jackie, a few of our regular clients' feedback to me is that they don't want to pay a fortune on a beautiful holiday and have lots of restrictions in resort or on the beach or in the bars.
Well, I mean, as you probably know, I'm traveling on Monday and I will be doing daily blogs from there, down on the Algarve. And I think it's possibly time to hand over to our resident travel agent down on the Algarve, David, who's taken some video then of what life is like in a tourist resort. So hand over to you, David, down on the Algarve in Carvuero.
These are some of the boats that are take you out to the caves, and from which you can explore. And as you can see, they're in pretty good condition, actually, and they operate. Different companies operate all along the Algarve, actually, from Alvor, Lagos, back towards the Mesa de Pera and so on. I think it's a pretty view, and a famous view in all the Portuguese magazines. Here's a view of the square, and you can see just on the far right of the screen here, Rua Pescadores, which is the road that leads into town, and then just to the right of that is the Rua Barranco, which is the road that leads out. There's a new restaurant bar area that's due to open later this month, which is the whole site was gutted and rebuilt during the pandemic, and we're all looking to see it open and enjoy the fruits of the kitchen. This is a view of Rua de Barranco, as I mentioned earlier. This is the road that leads, the one-way road that leads up out of town. And you can see signs of life happening in Carvuero now. This is the Jan restaurant, which stayed open through the whole of the pandemic, only obviously for takeaways, but now has been allowed to open in April, both inside and outside.
Elsa, how important are the English holidaymakers, or and the British for that matter, to your business?
Hello, good morning. The British are very, very important for our business. They are 70% of our business, and without them, we are in a big crisis. But I hope that change with the new improvements. But they are very, very important. It's the biggest part of the cake.
and to reassure them about how safe you are, can you tell us what COVID measures you've taken in the cafe?
Yes, we use the mask all the time. The guests also, when they arrive until they sit, they use the mask also. When they are eating now, we have the 2 meters each table, and we put some alcohol gel every time on the chairs and the tables. The people sit and then they go back. Clean and wash the floor and the bathrooms 3-4 times a day, and also inside the tables, and wash frequently the hand every time, and put some alcohol gel also, and it's the most.
And what size of group can you seat together inside and outside?
Yes, Inside we can sit 6 people on the table. Outside you can have 10 people, group of 10 people outside. Yes.
Cafe Fino is famous for its outside music events,
Oh,
including your Santiago.
Yes.
Can you tell us if you have any plans for in the
Yes,
future?
we already begin last Sunday with music outside. The only thing we ask for the people is not to get up to dance, because we have to respect and to keep this safe.
Okay.
And then yes, we can have all the people sit on the tables and the music there. We make now once per week, but we will make perhaps 3 times a week, because it's safe. We help our guests and we help the musicians, because they are also very bad in that situation with all the bars and discos closed.
Okay, Elsa, thank you very much for allowing me to interview you.
Thank you
Thanks
very
a lot.
much. Thank you
Bye.
very much.
Ciao.
Ciao.
As soon as possible.
Well, it's all a matter of supply and demand, really, isn't it? And we know that there is a lot of pent up anxiety and desire to go on holiday. So yes, I think prices will increase a little. We have seen it with Portugal this week, although it's not too bad at all. So I think the thing is to book as early as you possibly can, knowing that you've got flexibility there if things change. So please pop in and see us.
Brilliant. What is your advice as a travel agent generally on booking a trip abroad this year? Would you advise me to wait till next year, or or are we safe to go away as soon as everything opens up on the 21st of June?
Well, I think it is possible to travel this summer. Bearing in mind that the resorts have all got are doing the COVID protocols, the airports. I am actually traveling out on the first flight on Monday morning, because there's nothing that is more valuable than to have first-hand experience of what the whole process is in this new world. So I've done my PCR, I've downloaded the passport locator form. We're on the first flight. I will be doing daily blogs from the airport, from the in-flight experience, in resort, so that you can see what it's like for our clients. So yes, I think it's travel this summer is possible. Yeah. And really, I think we look forward to booking holidays for you and getting used to traveling again.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie, for those. I know we have lots more questions, but we're probably running out of time. So I'll hand over to you now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyway, well, just to sort of wrap it up, as I said, we'll be on that flight on Monday morning. I will be travelling with with a press contingency and being met there on the Algarve by the Algarve Tourist Board, who want to showcase exactly the safety measures they've put in place for our British tourists and other tourists, obviously, and that you can holiday this year safely. And there's nothing we're all looking forward to more than to feel the sun on our back, the warmth of the sun, and your toes running through the sand. So anyway, please do watch the blogs. It will be daily. You'll be able to find it on our website, traveltimeworld.co.uk /tour journal, or you'll be able to find it on our YouTube page as well. So that's it for now. So happy holidays.